Let's go ahead and dive into the panel discussion. So, first up, Dennis, got a couple questions for you, my friend. Um, you know, as people, candidates are starting to think about starting a career here at Extreme, one of the things that I know I personally always think about is, what does my typical workday look like? What would that look like for someone in your role and position here at Extreme, Dennis? So if you could elaborate a little bit about your average day, what that looks like for our attendees, that'd be great.
Sure. I like to say there's no average day, but because we're wireless developers, so it could be one of several things. So there's code. Usually, we're not starting from scratch. So you're looking at a large code base. You may be editing, fixing something that's related to a problem, and now you've got this Jira system. So problems are usually tied to issues that are formally registered. In earlier phases, people may have been creating a lot of features and going off on their own for a long time. Now we're into agile development, so everything is much more controlled. Um, and also because it's a wireless group, there may be actual physical things that you're doing, such as going to the lab and moving antennas, seeing how things work. We've actually now got a robot that wanders the halls and does roaming. Uh, yeah, so people can test. I mean, people used to walk around with a cart, and now they're working on a prototype, right? Like somebody, a few guys worked on that idea, saving labor. But again, just to say, there's variety in the day. People may go off on different projects, and it doesn't necessarily involve coding every day. There's problem solving if there's a hot customer issue. Some people who are really adept at particular aspects of wireless where the problem area may be, they may be asked to come in and look at it, offer ideas or solutions sometimes.
Wow. That's absolutely phenomenal. I had no idea that we were actually leveraging a robot to do roaming and test out roaming on the wireless side there
Hasn't been
here at
released yet.
corporate. So,
Hasn't been released yet, but no. But it's just to say, people are thinking outside of the box, trying to do, testing different ways. We're doing a lot of automated testing now.
oh, yeah, no, absolutely. So your days are dynamic and fluid, right? Ever changing, constantly, coming up with new ways to troubleshoot and like you said, problem solving and working as a team to achieve those business outcomes and put our best foot forward for our customers in our products and also in our support, right?
Yeah,
So
and I think the customer aspect is a very big deal here. When I started, we had a lot of CLI complex setups. We've done a lot in terms of the IQ controller and engine to really simplify it for the end user. There's a lot of details that you really don't know about or don't need to know about in order to just get started. Later, when you want to fine tune, you can dig down deeper and deeper if you want to. But we really need to make it, imagine somebody on site with, 2,000 APs. Do they really want to click 6 times to get something set up? Times 2,000, right?
right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, effortless networking, and I think folks, Wi-Fi has become the de facto access method, right? It's the fourth utility for us. It's supposed to just work, but I think very few people really realize just how much work goes behind that effortless experience for them as they connect to wireless, how that works. And, when you're at these large establishments, that IT team, that IT director, those technicians, the tools that they are required to leverage to provide that effortless experience for their patrons, right? So it's just absolutely phenomenal what you guys do and how in the weeds they go. I know enough to be dangerous, right? Some people call me a technical guy, but certainly. I know my own limitations, and that's where you and your team come in and make things happen. So that's so exciting. I mean, um, if there was one thing, Dennis, that you could potentially change about your job, what would it be?
Um, I think it's more. right now, because of COVID and being located in Canada, we've had a pretty severe lockdown. One of the things that, it's one thing to say work from home and um, 5 people in the office, but there's also that personality interchange, the body language. Things can be misconstrued by just communicating via text. So, Zoom calls, sometimes you're getting some flavor of people, but having that interchange, being able to walk around to another person's cubicle and have a discussion that quickly, I think that's something I would love to change. Not that many of us have voted for hybrid, but how does that work for us um, in practicality, right?
Right. No, I definitely understand that, right? That fatigue of Zoomtopia, as I like to call it,
Yes.
has certainly started setting in here as we continue to battle this pandemic. And there's nothing like human interaction. I completely agree. Being able to speak to someone face to face and really articulate your point, and um, things can be easily lost in translation sometimes just on Teams and text. And that's why, even today, even working from home, sometimes I'll just pick up the phone to call somebody. Say, man, that email, let me,
Yeah.
instead of typing back, let's just call and hash this out and make sure we're on the same page. So,
Yeah.
no, definitely agree with that, Dennis. Um, and, speaking of work and communication, from a diversity and inclusion perspective, you know, um, how is Extreme doing? How are we doing? I feel that we're doing a phenomenal job, but for our attendees, in your own words, from an inclusion diversity standpoint, what are you like about what Extreme has done, and what kind of impact do you think it has made for us as a company?
I think it's doing fantastically. I've seen the converse where the highest level of management does not support this kind of initiative, and it leads to problems on the work floor. If somebody does have an incident and they raise it with the manager, it's usually shut down. You're told things like, you need to get a thick skin or a thicker skin, and it's a joke, just laugh it off. And how does that affect the company? Well, talent that you don't have inside the company is not attracted to your company. You may be missing the next brilliant black engineer because they decided to go someplace else after hearing, not directly, but maybe from one of their friends that works at your company, that they've been having a bad time. Go someplace else because this is not the place for you. Whereas here, you're hearing people, not just in this forum, but in a lot of places saying, hey, it's pretty good here. Things are moving, it's progressing. And I belong to XYZ ethnic group and I'm not being blocked. I think that's important. It's important. You're hearing somebody on this call who's a director, right? A regional sales manager. Like, these are important. It's not just the title, it's the action behind it. Seeing people moving into places. Um, we can be doing little jobs. It's not about the big job or the little job. It's the willingness to accept your voice and make use of the ideas that you've expounded on to change the company. And people do feel like they have a voice, even in the farthest reaches of the company. I think that's really important.
Absolutely, absolutely, Dennis. Well said. I couldn't have said it better myself. And having a voice as a Black and African American, employee here at Extreme, it matters and it feels good. And you're absolutely right about the culture and the community and the family. And what I love the most as well is that it's not just our Black and African American family here at Extreme that is behind us and supporting us. It's everybody, right? Of all colors, creeds, we have a tremendous amount of amazing allies here within the four walls of Extreme, and everyone is so supportive, from La Raza to Black at Extreme to our APAC ERG, to our veteran ERG, to our LGBTQ community. Everyone supports everyone, and that sense of community helps to foster that sense of an inclusion. And it's been proven in many studies that when folks feel included, when folks feel that their voice is heard, they perform better because they're comfortable, because they know that what they're doing matters and they can come at their work from a place of passion, right? So, absolutely. So, thank you so much for that, Dennis. I appreciate you taking those questions.